All right, in this video, we're back talking about one of my favorite parts of the proficiency application, and that is the pictures. Pictures can tell a very good story if you utilize them properly. So today, Mr. Chip and I are going to share some tips with you about that, as well as how you can have your students keep up with their pictures and organize those better throughout their years to make it easier when they get to the actual proficiency application. So, Mr. Chip, thank you again for joining us today.
You're welcome. Glad to be here. One thing that you want to remember on your pictures, and this I go back to Alan Waters. Alan taught me more about taking pictures for proficiency than anybody else that I've ever been around. He said if you think one picture will do, take 5. If you think 5 will do, take 10. And I've seen him get at different angles and lay down on the ground and shoot up, and just to get more interesting pictures and a better picture of what was going on. And he always tried to take pictures of kids doing something. If your kids, I don't care whether it's a proficiency award or it's national chapter award, doesn't matter. Have your kids doing something, get pictures of what's actually going on. And with kids able to get AET on their phone and take those pictures from their phone, you're going to have a lot of pictures. They've got that phone glued to their hand all the time anyway. So you're going to get a lot of pictures. One thing you're going to also do is you're going to get a lot of pictures that you're not going to want to use. So as they take those pictures, they need to go in and put a label on them or a link to an SAE. And we're going to go over here and go to the chapter portfolio and take a look at some pictures. If these kids are taking on their phone and they're all going to chapter portfolio, they're going to be a whole bunch of pictures here show up. But see, Jared has these linked to actually community service and the landscaping and things like that. And here he's clicked and pulled up a picture here, and there's several different pictures. As you look through these pictures, you see what Alan's talking about when he says, if you think one picture will do, take 5. We had a lovely picture of a lawnmower in somebody's feet. What does that show you? That doesn't show you anything. That could be any kid in America mowing that yard. It doesn't necessarily mean it's who your student is with that SAE. And maybe the caption in the picture was talking about, well, I was able to buy this lawnmower to begin my SAE through a grant from National FFA. Well, you're talking about the SAE, you're not talking about the lawnmower. So make sure that you get the effect so that your picture tells the story of what that SAE is. This top picture up here, let's take a look at it real quick and see what's wrong with it. All right, we got a student. Let's blow it up. Has he got safety glasses on? Yes, he does. So that's actually a pretty good picture. That's they're doing some trimming. It doesn't appear to be a picture that's staged. It appears to be one that's actually working. So that's actually a pretty decent picture. It has his safety equipment on, and that's something they're going to look at when you're sitting at that table and they're looking through those pictures. That's the first thing they're going to say, hey, I haven't got his safety equipment on. So make sure that you've got that and choose the best picture that tells your story of what your SAE is. That's a key to it. And make sure that you don't use the same picture twice, of course. And something that's kind of a pet peeve of mine, if you have 2 SAEs that are similar and they could use the same equipment, and they use different pictures. Don't use the same picture in 2 SAEs for the same kid, and certainly don't use 2 for the 2 different kids, because that's plagiarism and that'll get you disqualified. So, but if this one kid has 2 different SAEs that both of them might be using some of the same pictures, don't put the same picture in 2 different SAEs for the same student, because you're going to get caught. Somebody's going to see it. And Make sure that when you're doing that, because that just tells me, hey, all I did was go in and change the heading, and the everything else is going to be just the same. Make sure you got different pictures for different, so it tells a different story. Don't tell the same story twice. So we've got the picture here. Now we want to do some editing on the picture. I'm going to put a little bit of a caption on it. So we go to edit, and when you're doing a caption, don't explain the picture. Use that picture to tell your story, and don't say in this picture, or here's a shot of me, or here I am. They know that. They know it's you. They know it's here's a shot of me, and they can see what's going on in the picture. Use it to tell your story about what your SAE is about. How did you come about getting this job, or how did you come about having this weed eater, or what? Tell me what makes what's important about this picture, not what the picture says. No, don't tell me what the picture is. Tell me what's important about it, and tell me what it means to your SAE. As a judge, that's what I like to see. I don't want you telling me. I don't want you explaining the picture. Then you
I
can
clearly don't have the best words right now, Mr. Chip, but like you said, don't. That's always been a thing I was told when we judged is don't say in this picture, don't tell. Use the picture to talk about something, a bigger concept, like you
right.
said.
Even something you can't explain that you had to explain somewhere else that maybe it's not explained somewhere else. Use your picture to explain it. Tell me your story. And this is obviously a lawn care. It's a landscape SAE. Tell me more about your project. How many weed eaters do you have? How much crew do you have? How long does it take? How much time do you spend trimming? And you probably want to say trimming instead of, I've been saying weed eater all along. And you know, that may be a local. I know when I was judging, somebody was talking about bush hog, and they didn't know what it was. The people at my table did not know what a bush hog was. They didn't know when you were talking about bush hogging, they didn't know what it was. They called it trimming or clipping. And we had to explain what that was. So everything, just because you know what it is doesn't mean everybody's going to. You get do a good thorough explanation of what's happening, of the picture of what's happening in your SAE. I know the ones when I was doing the pictures for the Star and Agribusiness, those kids just did a fantastic job with their pictures and explaining their project and what they were doing. And you got your character count up there, and Jared's almost reached his character count now. So you want to try to use as many letters as you can, I mean, as many characters as you can in there. There's tricks and tips that you can use it. And Whitney told me, don't spell out the date. Don't say November 12th, 2019. Use the numbers, and you can save some space there, and you can actually go in and do a little more explanation. Alan always did a great job with pictures, and he would actually crop the pictures so that, and this picture looks like it has been cropped, so that you focused on the student. He did a really good job at that, and so you actually focused on the student. This third picture down here is one that could be cropped real easy so that you're focused on the student. You've got a whole lot of green space right there that you could actually go in and take away and you'd be focusing more on what the student is doing. Now, when you start doing it again, you don't want to say, here I am on my mower mowing grass. I mean, that's obvious. That's what you're doing. Tell me more about your SAE, more about what this means to the whole project.
And again, please forgive my stock images from Google for Barney Fife's SAE. Barney is camera shy these days. I don't know why. And also, we're just trying to give you some examples on these captions. Clearly, I'm not thinking really sharp today, which is probably most days, but trying to give you an idea not to state the obvious. Use this as an opportunity to tell more about your SAE. So once we've got all of our pictures loaded and we've got them hopefully designated to what project they're linked to, Mr. Chip, what do we need to do next?
Okay, now we're going to go through and pick out the ones that we want to use. Then we're going to go over to our actual application, and we're going to select from AET. And we can find the one that we want to select, and there it is there. We're going to select it, and it's going to come over there with our caption already done. Now, if you had done this caption right after you put that picture in the next day or the next Friday after you did this on Monday or Tuesday, you would remember much more about what happened during that time and why you wanted to use that picture than you will 6 months down the road. So go ahead and do your pictures, do your captions, do your cropping when it's fresh on your mind. And you can actually crop these pictures right here just as well. Let's talk about some of the things that might be wrong with some of these pictures. The second picture down there is a pretty good picture. It shows he's working. The shop's clean. He's got everything. It looks like everything's going pretty good. That would be a pretty good picture. Now, what do you say on that? Once again, you tie this back to your SAE so that it makes sense and tells your story. Think of the whole thing as telling your story. So let's select another one there, and let's look at one that might not be quite so good. There's the lawnmower. Here's one right here. Let's select that one. Okay, there was as you go through and look at that one, you can see a student probably on the far end down there, but there's a whole lot of space between. He's actually laid an irrigation line, which is probably pretty good. It's a pretty good picture, but there's so much space, you're not very close to the student. You could blow it up just a little bit and get closer to him. You can actually crop it and get yourself a little bit closer. Now, there's something. How many times during an actual working situation are you going to take time to stop and wave at the camera? I don't think that's going to be a real good picture as far as telling the judge what you're doing. So it needs to be a working picture. And you can actually go in and crop that here. You can still tell plenty what he's doing. If you crop that picture down to pretty much like it's shown right there, that would be pretty good. But you could actually crop it from the side and make it a little bit focus more on the worker as opposed to, there we go. Now it's still obvious what he's doing.
Another thing you talked about, Mr. Chip, earlier is quality of picture. Obviously, as I've blown this up more and more, we're losing quality. These kids today all have these nice phones that take just as good of a picture as a really nice camera. So
yes,
the new iPhones are wonderful to take pictures with. So, but do think about one thing. You talked about Alan Waters earlier, and I'm obviously a product of Mr. Waters. one thing he always did, instead of zooming his phone in, he walked into it. He tried not
Yes,
to use the zoom because that helps keep your resolution good on your phone and your pictures. So instead of using your pinching that screen and zooming in, walk into it and walk out. That will help with resolution. Also, I think you mentioned earlier, take pictures in landscape, not in portrait mode.
mm,
It helps fill out the application better when they move over.
absolutely. If you take them in landscape instead of portrait, you can crop them better. You can, and like Alan told me, he said, just walk closer to your subject. Don't try to zoom. You're not going to scare them off. You know, just walk closer and then take your picture. So it's use take a lot of pictures. That's the biggest thing I can tell you is be sure and take a lot of pictures so that you've got a lot to choose from when you start looking to tell your story. And that's what this is going. First thing I do when I open a proficiency application, I go to the pictures. If the pictures are good and they tell me what's going to be happening in that application, then I kind of know what to look for. So, and a lot of judges do that. A lot of judges go to those pictures first and look at them.
Absolutely. And so again, while we could just upload pictures directly into the application here, if you'll get your kids using AET, putting those pictures in over time, they're going to have a greater source of pictures to pull from. Go ahead and get them to be working on those captions early, because once again, this is near the end of the application. You can get, if you try to just blow through this application, by the time you get the pictures, sometimes you skimp on the details, and the points can definitely be earned in these details. So again, I encourage you, I know Mr. Chip, you encourage everyone, utilize AET for this and then just pull everything over.
Right. Do it as you go. And it's going to save you time in the long run, and it's going to have a much better quality application.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Mr. Chip, for sharing your tips for good pictures. We've seen some good here and some bad, and hopefully we've given you all some good tips that will help improve your applications.
Thank you, and thanks to Alan Waters.